So Wendy and I have been friends for a few years, and right about the time that her dad was diagnosed with cancer, we were going through many of the similar type symptoms with my own dad. And so she was a huge help to me, and me being a worrier told me, don't think you're a worrier, you need to be serious and get it checked out. And so about a month later, we had gone through all of the tests and unfortunately found a similar issue. His was leukemia. So we started everything we could to hit it as aggressively as we could. And then unfortunately there came a time and where we knew it was time to kind of change course. And the nice thing was Wendy was a huge help and support in her being a good friend. We were able to talk a lot. I was able to talk a lot to my dad and tell him, answer questions he had. So the day came when we had been doing treatments for a few months, almost 2 or 3 times a week. And one morning he called and said, I need you to call Wendy. So I called Wendy and I said, I know you're busy. I don't know what your day looks like, but he wants to talk to you sometime today. And within 45 minutes, she was there and at the house, holding his hand, holding my hand, just making us all feel at ease. There's a lot of emotions that go on at that time, from just sadness and fear and not knowing what's going to be the best thing and how do we do this. We've never done this before. And once we switched things over, Wendy had things rolling and we had a hospice bed there within about 2 hours and everything that he needed. And going through that last, I think it was about 2 weeks, a little under 2 weeks that he was there. Wendy was with him a lot, which was awesome. But I think what impressed me the most is every single person that was there working with him was amazing. I just loved that we could call them with anything. I always hate to bug people, but any call we had to make, we were just put at ease and felt really like we were in good hands always.
My dad was diagnosed with terminal cancer, and he was having a lot of symptoms of pain, excruciating back pain. Nobody could figure out what was happening or why, and he was getting weaker. He was having falls, and this was the same symptoms that Amy was describing to me months before about her dad, and she was trying to figure out, should they be going to the hospital, should they be going to doctors, because they had gone to many, many doctors, as had we with my dad, trying to get answers, trying to find out what is really going on, and watching my dad just continue to lose weight and decline in what he could get out of bed or not being able to move, and that just wasn't my dad. And that was exactly what Amy would describe to me about her dad. And we had gone through hospice with Aspire as well and been able to get my dad comfortable, get him home from the hospital, to come home with family and just be able to be with us. And we kept him comfortable, and we were able to do that through Aspire Hospice. And so when Amy gave me a phone call, and as she was describing what was going on with her dad, I knew they had been trying to do lots and lots of chemo treatments and trying to keep him strong and see if they could fight that cancer. You know, you just knew it was time to come and try and see where we can make him most comfortable and help the family through that, because that is probably one of the hardest calls to make.
For sure.
Because you don't want to feel like you're giving up, but you don't want to see your loved one suffer anymore either. So you're ready to give them the comfort that they need. And so when Amy said that, I knew that that's where they were at. I talked to my office and said, well, we can get this to happen right now. I'm here, let's get started. I'll call, make phone calls, and we got everything out that they needed and got him comfortable.
My experience with my dad, again, this was something we'd never been through before. And you kind of go through those, wow, this is really my life now, and wanting to fight it as hard as we could, and going to the hospital almost daily, in and out, and trying to be optimistic and hopeful and a cheerleader. And going day to day. I still remember going up with him one day and seeing just him age so fast and seeing him so bent over and in so much pain and thinking, I love him so much. I can't see him go through this much longer. And we need to realize that I talked to my siblings and said, we don't want Dad to give up, but we also want him to know that we support him if he chooses that. And that was a really hard talk that I had to have with my dad and say, I love you. I want you to be here as long as we can have you, but we don't want you to keep fighting for us. We love you still if you choose that this is your time. And the biggest concern he had was he didn't want to be in so much pain that he couldn't function, but he also didn't want to be so sedated that he couldn't communicate anymore. And that was a huge help that Wendy and Aspire was in saying, you still have control. I think, in my opinion, this was my only hospice experience, but the more control they feel they have in the end of life measures, the better. And it was just awesome to see how we had the experts there to help us, but they also helped him realize that he has a choice in that as well.
My dad was a longtime hospice chaplain, and he continued to talk to all of us about hospice, and he wanted us to know that it was important for him to be able to use his hospice benefit. And so he let us know that when the time came, he would like to be on hospice. And so it's hard when you've got your mom and your siblings and everybody. You don't want to say you're giving up, like Amy had said, but when is it time to be comfortable and be able to take him home? He was tired of the routines and getting woken up all the time, and what we have to do in the facilities and take care of him and the pain management and the regimen, and he was done with all that, and he finally said, I just want to go home. He was just the cutest guy. He just wanted to make sure everybody knew he loved them, and we had that time to work through that and talk about it. And as the time came, we had supportive nurses that would tell us what to be looking for the next transition, to be looking for changes in breathing or different things that would start happening with him as his body declined more and when it would get closer to him passing. And we were able to have a very beautiful experience with him in passing as we were gathered around him and had the support of hospice to be able to do that at our home.
I remember calling several times Wendy saying, okay, now what do I do? He's in so much pain. And it was nice to be able to say, okay, here we are now. We need to get here. We don't want to have him so sedated that we can't talk to him anymore, but can we get him more comfortable? And it was amazing to be able to see him finally be able to just be enough out of pain that he could communicate with us and talk and be more comfortable and have those comfort measures at the end. If you have any concerns about one of your loved ones, call Aspire.